Welcome back to Lenz's Comic Corner, Classic Lesson on Classics. This is episode number 2750 and 2644. Now, with this one, we're discussing, first, the first set of issues, first set of collect issues from the last known ongoing series for this character. And that character being Namor the Submariner. Yeah, it's been a while since I've actually did a review for him. I think the last thing I discussed for him was Submariner to the Depths. That was the last thing I discussed here. So, this is the penultimate series to discuss for him. Well, before the Jason Aaron Namor book comes out. We have Namor the First Mutant. Here's the cover of the first issue. This is the collected in the trade of Namor the First Mutant, Volume 1, Curse of the Mutants. Yeah, I don't know if this is a misprint or something. Let me try this here. It says 1 through 6, but I think it's more like... maybe it's like 1 through 4. It says 1 through 6. Yeah, this is kind of weird. I'm just going to discuss the opening 4 issues because it does not really clarify exactly like what exactly is collecting these two trades. So, Cursed Mutants. This storyline is basically the best way to describe it. It is... This will tell me. Well, this is the storyline where the best way to describe it, it's X-Men versus vampires. Yep. That's literally what this is. This is X-Men versus vampires. Yeah. So, in the main story, what's happened to pages of X-Men, Volume 2, no, it was Volume 3, I think it was. Yeah, Volume 3. Where in the issues, there was a vampire bomb that went off and turned people to vampires. The biggest character turned into vampire was... Jubilee. And she made a vampire for several years. Yeah, she would not be cured until basically toward the end of the awful generation. Yeah, this is kind of weird. I'm getting a very confusing thing. I'm just going to do the first 4 issues of this thing. So basically, it's all about the X-Men taking on... team up with Dracula, taking on his son. Yep, that is literally what the plot thread is here. Now, as for... Namor is involved with it. Yeah, this is kind of weird of how Namor gets involved with it because this is mostly put... By the way, this book is written by Stuart Moore, artwork by Ariel Olavi, or Levy, I think that's how you pronounce it. Yes, this was... Oh, by the way, before I continue, this was in fact the first and so far as I can tell, the only known ongoing series for Namor released while I was reading comics. Yes, there has been a total of about 4 or 5 miniseries, but ongoing? No, this is the only one. Didn't last very long. It's also by far the shortest run. This book first issue's first appearance of a group known as the Tridents. They are basically Namor's bodyguards, who only exist in these first few issues. They're not bad guys per se. They're only in the first 2 issues, and they pop up again for issue 11. Yes, so the main villain of the first issue is the Aqueos. They're basically... The best way to describe them is that they're a lower species of vampires. Yeah. So that's kind of how basically Namor gets involved. Plus, I love these covers. Now, the covers of this book are done by Jay Lee. Those of you who think of this guy for covers, you usually think of Superman, Batman, Batman, Superman. We all see interior artwork where he drew. He had this thing for drawing characters like Asians. Like he drew Batman, Superman like Asians for no reason, despite the fact these two are clearly white. Namor, I don't have an issue with it at all because he's from the ocean. He also fights a faceless one in issue number 2. Yes, faceless ones are creatures who first appeared in a story for I think it was Incredible Hulk. Actually, no, I think they're actually old Namor villains, which I'm surprised. Basically, the writer of this book brought these creatures back. First time since Namor submitted number 40, and they're only here for 2 issues. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as for what happens in the course of these 2 issues, it is mostly put just Namor taking on, well, vampires. That is basically the best way to describe it. They basically fight all these creatures, and by the end of the story here, which apparently is called the Royal Blood Arc. Yeah, but they also have a character named Hassan who gets killed in issue 4. Yeah, he was a character debuted in issue 1. He was just basically just the leader of the Tritons who gets killed off in this issue. As for the other Aquarius, they get killed off by issue 4. Yep. Yeah. It's almost like this book has very little to do with the main book. Also, there's a character named Lola, who is a character from Mutants Volume 2 at first debuted. She becomes sort of a supporting character in this book. Also, this period of time, when this book came out, basically the X-Men were living out in San Francisco. Well, technically in the city, so they're living on Utopia, the former asteroid M belonging to Magneto, which they brought to the surface. Yep. And Lola herself became a supporting character with issue number, 2. And she was like a recurring character almost the entirety of this book. Yep. Excuse me. And if you're curious, what was Namor's contribution to the X-Men at this period of time? Well, Magneto, in the pages of Kenny X-Men, had basically formalized a deal with them. To bring the Atlanteans to Utopia by having them build a pillar. The pillar itself became the primary, let's just say, focus location of this whole series. It is, this is referred to as the Atlantean Pillar. It's also referred to as basically New Atlantis. It was an interesting idea. Matt Fraction introduced this on Kenny X-Men 520 in the main story itself that where basically this pillar has 2 purposes. Number 1, keeping Utopia afloat, and number 2, basically be a new home for Atlanteans, which Namor agreed to. They built it, and no problem. Yeah, and also the fact that the X-Men were dealing with possibly that the island was sinking because the engines were failing. So Magneto built his pillar. They actually were quite surprised and a bit upset the fact he did this, but it was only for his survival, and Namor was part of the X-Men's period of time. This was kind of considered the next book at the time it was released. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you're really curious, what exactly happened to this pillar, it was destroyed. Thanks to the events of AVX, it was destroyed. And that's why it technically did make a return in X-Men Blue. Yes. Well, it's ruins, anyways. Yeah, basically, this is kind of what Namor was up to after the events of the main book. Yeah. But when I finish this book, there actually will be a mini series I will be discussing. There's basically another mini series. I almost forgot the fact this mini series, but it's a Namor book. And I'm going to discuss as soon as I finish discussing this book. And that book being Fear Itself the Deep. And then I'll do Namor Conquered Shores. And that is it for Namor. But for the opening 4 issues of the series, I'm going to give this book roughly a 9 out of 10. Great book. It's very confusing exactly what actually is in the trade, what's in the trade. It's very confusing. I feel like on our website, they say this thing clicks the first 6 issues, despite the fact that the next trade contains 5 through 11. So I'm going to assume this book contains the first 4 issues of the series. Yep. But it's a very interesting book, and I think it was canceled due to low sales. Yes, I believe so. Let's see. So, okay, so apparently in August 2010, that's kind of when basically around the time this is coming out, this was the 42nd best-selling comic book of that year. Which, hey, not bad. And apparently it made a Screen Rant's top 10 best ever Namor comics to read. Which, yeah, I do agree with that. But my guess is it was probably canceled due to probably not selling too well. That is just my personal theory on the matter. It is quite surprising he got an ongoing series, especially as his ongoing series came out in the 90s. Isn't it kind of weird though, where Namor gets an ongoing series? Like, by the way, these issues came out roughly like, oh my gosh, like if you're really curious, excuse me, the first issue of this book came out in August of 2010, which was almost 14 years ago. Yes, 14 years ago. That's how recent this book was. And it ended in 2011. Like, it lasted for, I dare say, about a year. Yeah, it lasted actually about to June. It was kind of interesting, the fact that basically they decided to do this. The fact that the book itself managed to last as long as it did. Now, does anybody think this book was terrible? I've never heard anybody say anything bad about this book. I thought the book quite interesting. That is my announcement anyways. Yep. So, I will discuss the remaining 7 issues of this book another time. Yep. If you're really curious, like, basically, aside from Fear Itself Deep and Namor Conquered Shores, there's not really a lot of Namor books left to go. Well, you're thinking, oh, what about his old 80s comics? Like, not 80s comics. His Golden Age books. Don't have many plans. Yes, I do know about the Jason Aaron book coming out next month. I do know about that. I'll review that when it comes on trade. Yes. So, overall, here's what's left. You have Conquered Shores, Fear Itself of Deep. Fear Itself of Deep will be next, by the way. And then Conquered Shores. And after that, that's it. Yes, and yes, like I said, there is still the Golden Age stuff. Oh yeah, there's also the Marvel Snapshots. I'll probably discuss that when I get to Marvel Snapshots. Yeah, when I get to the trade Marvel Snapshot, that's when I'll discuss it. But for series-wise, there's technically 2 left. Yep, just two. And that's basically it. Um, who would have thunk, though, that the fact that I have that much left to go? Not much to do. Yeah, but give the book roughly a minute. Next up we have is Aquaman, Volume 2. Released in 1986 after the conclusion of Crisis on Infinite Earths. Yep. Where this is the book where, get this, okay? So this is the book where it has Aquaman's a brand new costume for Aquaman. They only wear it as one book, and the costume went to a different character after this. This is a very weird comic for what it is. The writer of this book is Neil Poster and artwork by Clayton Hamilton. Now, the book starts off basically in, I think this is supposed to be Florida. Yes, where he ends up fighting Ocean Master and he gets away. And he wears the traditional Aquaman outfit at the start of this book. And he wears the blue suit, which I've heard referred to as a stealth suit. And the thing doesn't work. Yeah, it being a stealth suit, it frickin' sucks. Yeah, I don't really know exactly of why in the world that they did this. Yeah, it is quite baffling the fact that this happened. And yeah, the fact this book managed to come out, it's not terrible per se. It's like, oh yeah, Ocean Master is written to be way different than he normally is. If you're really curious, like how much different per se, like he's like laughing maniacal. Oh, and by the way, when he first uses it, he gets captured immediately. Yes, he does. He gets captured immediately as soon as he basically steps foot of where he's going to go. It's like, oh, hi. You weren't supposed to see me. And it's a interesting mini-series, what it is. It's not terrible. But yeah, it's very forgettable miniseries. It's there. It's got good artwork. Yeah. I'm gonna give the book roughly an 8 out of 10. There's nothing really big noteworthy about this book aside from the famous stealth suit. I think this stealth suit actually went when Aquaman's sons after this miniseries wrapped up. I believe so. And I've already discussed Volume 3 already, so next book to talk about will be Volume 4. And that's going to be a little more interesting than that one. That was actually ongoing, believe it or not. Yep. So yeah, that's particularly a particular review. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, notifications, and do this like button. I'm gonna go get some dinner. And right back to do my review for the Misfit Demon King Academy. Okay, next to you. Bye.